7 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining the May 16th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Concord. 2 items on the agenda tonight, but before we get there, let's do a roll call of the zoning board members that are here. Elizabeth Dwyer-Leonard.
Here.
Ravi Fia.
Here.
Thomas Swaim.
Here.
And Taylor Kinnon's chair is here as well. We also have on the line Elizabeth Hughes, Concord Town Planner. And I am also seeing that Wendy Rovelli is on the line. She is, for people that don't know that yet, is our new liaison with the with the select board. So welcome, Wendy. First item on the agenda, 7 o'clock, Thoreau Residences LLC for a comprehensive permit under MGL Chapter 40B, paragraphs 20 through 23 for a 216-unit multifamily development, which is a 13.08 acre portion of the real property known and numbered as 275 Forest Ridge Road. The applicant has requested a continuation of this public hearing until a later date. And that later date we'll be, I think, talking about a little bit later here tonight. But since it's been a little bit quiet, I wanted to take this opportunity to give the board and therefore also the abutters and other interested parties a sort of an update where this process is going or has gone in the last several months. So as you all know, we had a February 29th, we had a presentation from the applicant, a long and thoughtful presentation where we, the board, lots of abutters, lots of stakeholders had something to say about the plans that were presented. We had a March 19th site visit, then an April 4th meeting that was continued because the applicant was, I think, thinking about what was all said and what was going on. That was followed by an April 11th work session. The work session was attended by Mr. Swaim and myself, Elizabeth Hughes, our 2 peer review consultants, our 40B consultant, and a large contingent of the applicant's team. And I think those were pretty much all the people that were there. At the meeting, it was sort of in general terms, was the project was discussed, and I think from the town side, especially the architecture peer reviewer, just reiterated and was a little bit more specific on what the issues and concerns were for the town and where that stood. And I thought, you know, that was a good meeting. Was a good meeting to get sort of to air out some things and to get a dialogue going. That meeting then was followed up by a Zoom call on May 7th. So that was last week. And the applicant wanted to discuss or wanted to pretty much let us know why they need a little bit more time. And I'm going to now try to share my screen. And hopefully people can see the screen here. Anybody, can you?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. So this is the plan that was originally presented. This is a slide out of the slide deck that was presented where, you know, you see the Thoreau Club down here at the bottom with their drop off, their parking, and the the proposed plan coming off this the traffic circle with this sort of this boulevard kind of a drive to the main parcel. The applicant is doing at this point in time is doing a couple of things, but is one of the items that the applicant is doing is that currently in this plan, sort of in this area is where the sewage disposal system, the leach field, is located for this development, and they are now starting to look, or they have started to look, and doing some more geotechnical and geohydrological investigation to see whether that really is the best spot, or whether there are other spots on site that also could be used for that purpose. And so that just takes a little time, but and this all comes to the fact that if they're going to change the plan, and if then one of the items is that this leach field might shift, and that will give them a little bit more flexibility. So that's some time that they need to do those investigations. But what they are also investigating now is, instead of having this driveway come off of the cul-de-sac, having this driveway come off sort of the driveway going to the Thoreau Club. So somewhere here or here, I'm not exactly sure where, but somewhere in this vicinity. And then doing this, and I think that was a clear complaint of that, especially the abutters had, that this curb cut here on this circle is, while technically feasible, it might not be the best or the most elegant solution. Having the entrance to the development come off of this driveway is, from a traffic point of view, an improved situation. It also, because this is a as you know, and I see whether I can switch screen. This is a heavily, you see this is where the traffic circle is. This is sort of where that driveway is proposed. It would also mean that if this driveway comes in here, that all of these trees pretty much come down. There's going to be a big fill, lots of earthwork to get this road in. And then this is also a drainage easement that then needs to be relocated somewhere. So fixing a traffic situation, leaving a lot of trees in place, seems like a pretty good idea in broad terms. The devil is in the details always, but we need to figure that one out later. But here is a bit the rub with that, I think, is that coming off of here would mean that this driveway goes across this property. This property is actually the entire property is in the Limited Industrial Park 2 district that does not allow multifamily. This being a 40B, they will be getting a waiver for that use, or they have requested a waiver for that use, and they will be getting that. The sort of the leftover Thoreau Club property will remain obviously in that use, in the Limited Industrial Park zone, and having a driveway through there is, although it can be done by easement, still it is a multifamily use, which is not allowed, and that's coming from their attorney, and then I think it's confirmed by town council as well. So in order to have a driveway coming off of this Thoreau's Club driveway, they will need a variance. They will need a use variance, which they, I think, intend to be filing to us very shortly. So obviously, from a site planning point of view, I think, this could be a much better solution, but there is a variance that would be needed. So if they don't get the variance, obviously we're going back to this plan coming off of this cul-de-sac. That's where we are. And that's the other reason why the applicant wanted some extra time to get that variance process worked through. So there you have it. That's why I'm gonna stop share now. That's why the request for the time extent. Well, we have a time extension that came with this, but the punting on the meeting is I don't know who is here from the applicant, because if we're going to continue it, we will need to continue it to date and time. So is there anybody from the applicant here that could speak to that? I'm not sure.
This is Ian Urquhart. I'm counsel for the Pembroke Group.
Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Do you know? Do you have any suggestions to when you might be ready to come back to us?
That's a good question. What are the next available dates?
Well, what we'd like to do is that we have we'd like to keep the 40B application in this case on their separate date. So separate from our regular scheduled meeting. And I think the one that we came up with that I think can be the first possibility would be June 20th on a Thursday. Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
So it really all depends on when the applicant feels that they're going to have all the revised material submitted, because basically it would almost be a new application from a stormwater drainage and maybe not the traffic, but all of the site elements. So they would have to submit something by Tuesday. I don't see that happening because the application gets submitted, it goes out to town staff.
Right.
It would go out to the board's consultants. They need time to review everything, prepare their memos, provide that back. The applicant time to review that, respond if necessary. So I think June 20th is probably an unrealistic timeframe.
That sounds right.
So if you're pushing it out to July, you have your meeting, I believe, is scheduled for July 11th.
Correct.
That's your regular meeting.
So the week before is pretty much a no-go, right? That will be July. Would that be July 5th?
The week before is July 4th. That's a holiday.
Yeah, it's a no-go.
So you would be July 18th.
So July 18th would be the next possible.
Well, we can go earlier, but are you ready? And will you have your stuff submitted to the town so that we can review it?
I'm trying to email the team right now as we discuss this.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah. I mean, if June 20th was too early, right? Then June 27th is only a week later. The following week is July 4th week, so that's a no-go. And then July 11th, we have a regular meeting unless we swap our a regular meeting to the 18th. But
So I'm gonna probably recommend July 18th. What that will allow is, you know, if the applicant submits something, let's say by the end of May, the chair could hold another working session with the applicant, their team, and the board's consultants, and town staff. And that would still provide enough time, you know, if revisions had to, you know, minor revisions had to be made, or at least everybody's on the same page. Still would provide enough time for the board's consultants and town staff to review everything, provide a comment letter that the applicant can review and comment back on. Or at least be able to comment back at the board's meeting on the 18th. You may not be able to get a full round of re-review and re-comment by town staff and the consultant, but at least there would be, you know, one full round of review and by town staff and by the applicant.
I'm fine with that. That gives us, after that meeting, we'll then have exactly 2 months, because October 14 is that date, to close a public hearing on this, unless we get another extension. But
That gives you almost 3 months. That gives you almost 3 months.
Okay,
July
so
to August.
it's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that should be, well, I don't want to say that should be plenty. That should be 90 days. It's still half of the allotted 180. But I think July 18th would be a good day to a good date to shoot for. Elizabeth Dwyer, Leonard, you have your hand up. Just you don't have your board member. You don't have your hand up. You can just
Okay. I wasn't sure. I'm not available that day, and I just think it would be wise to check. I'll be out of town that whole week. That you'd have a quorum.
No, we need. I would like you to be there. We would need you there.
I am so sorry. I'm out of town, but I'm back.
Yeah.
After that, I'm back the rest of the summer. Sorry.
Thursday, July 25th, and everybody here.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, would that work for you all?
July 25th. Yes. Why don't you put us down for that?
Cool. So, and as I mentioned earlier, the applicant has already provided us with a time extension until October 14th. As you all know, we typically, well, we only have 180 days to open and close the public hearing on a ZBA comprehensive permit matter. So with the applicant asking to continue public hearing without discussion, they also indeed were nice enough to give us more time to handle this case. So there's no discussion on this, but if there's any sort of process questions, I might be able to answer them. And this is towards the board. If we are fine with that, then I am happy to entertain a motion.
Continue the public hearing to July 25th at 7 p.m. It would be in person in the first floor conference room at 141 Keyes Road. And
yes, please.
Accept the time extension to October 14th for the board to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I second that.
Okay, all those in favor, Ms. Sophia,
Aye.
Miss Elizabeth Dwyer Leonard,
Aye.
and chair votes aye as well. So that's been continued. Thank you so much for that. I'm looking forward to what the revised plans will look like. 705, which we have Concord Public Schools for a variance on the zoning bylaw section 11.7 to add a solar parking canopy within the 40-foot front setback at 923 Old Marlborough Road. As we discussed this last time, was it last week actually? We reviewed everything. We think came to a conclusion, at least, not a decision, a conclusion, but a decision has been, draft decision has been written and has been forwarded to the board for a review of this. Is there any, are there any comments from the board? Any additions?
Just a
Anything?
question. Elizabeth, I think you'd mentioned there was a bylaw that ground mounted solar had some other path out of this. Is it very clear that a parking canopy mounted on the ground with solar on top of it is different than ground mounted solar?
So what town council provided at the last public hearing, there's case law dealing with ground mounted large scale solar. That's like at the landfill over off Knox Trail. And just these the solar canopy panels alone would not trigger it being considered a large scale ground mounted solar. Combined, what's on the roof and what's going to be on the canopies would trigger that threshold, but they're not all on the ground. So so that's where town council, and I think that's finding one that deals with that difference under the zoning act. There's protections for large scale ground mounted solar. And that, if this was a large ground mounted solar, it would have protections and they would just be getting a special permit. They would not need a variance. And usually large scale ground mounted solar are far more intrusive, take up more, basic green space. There's not, parking underneath. Everybody has seen the solar panels at either Knox Trail or at the landfill. So, but that would be finding number one that was referenced.
Yeah. Okay. And if I understand it, the middle school design plans were sort of completed, and then this solar project was kind of laid on top, where it's like the parking lot and everything was already there, right? And so this is just designing the photovoltaic to fit on what the middle school design looked like.
Yeah, I can let Jason jump in if I'm going awry. As I told the board, I know a little bit about a lot of things, and I'm not an expert on except for planning. But until the parking lot got laid out, the building got laid out, and the building construction drawings and everything got developed to a certain point. That's when an actual solar, I'm going to say engineer, is able to go through and calculate what it is going to take to get that building to net zero, which is what town meeting voted on. And then from there, they lay out, where, how many panels you need, what's the, the capacity you need. And so the system gets designed it cannot get designed at the same time as the building because you don't know what that load is going to be because you haven't spec'd out what what are going to be all the uses that are going to draw on that requirement and being able to get to net zero. So
Okay, no, that's helpful.
Anybody else, any questions?
I read the draft decision and I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, there was one edit on the date in that decision.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that was-
looks really good.
okay, so do I need to
I-
flip a coin?
Oh.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I am too. I think, I was sort of trying to think if there's any other kind of detail that we could add to support the findings, but I think what's in there is great.
I was actually fishing for a motion, but
Oh, great. I'll make a motion to grant the Concord Public Schools a variance under zoning bylaw 11.7 to add solar parking canopy within the 40-foot front setback at 923 Old Marlborough Road.
Based on the findings outlined in the board's decision.
Based on the findings outlined in what's this document called?
The board's
Decision.
decision.
A decision, yeah.
I second.
all those in favor? Miss Elizabeth Dwyer-Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Fria,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. So congratulations, Mr. Bulger. As used, this is approved. So
Thank you.
this was it. This concludes the hearing of for tonight, I guess. And are we adjourned? I don't need a motion for that, right?
Nope,
So
You just
we
need to
are
adjourn.